Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Look, I know we here in the XRP community, and I think it's fair to say, just crypto participants in general, not exactly big fans of the SEC. And the primary reason for that is that it's run by a bunch of asshats. And I think that we all agree that they're a bunch of asshats, right? We're on the same page there. But as it turns out, there's a push to effectively throw the SEC overboard. Now that it sounds, you throw them overboard. Yes, let's get rid of them, right? Like, okay, but what happens then? Well, the push is to get rid of the SEC and replace them with, drumroll, a new government agency. Oh, yes, that's it. That's the solution to the problem. Replace bureaucracy with new bureaucracy. Yes, this will solve the problem. It will lead us to the promised land. Oh, yes, indeed. So I can appreciate that people are trying to find solutions, and I support the open discussion, but I am just about 100% against this idea, and I want to talk about this. And look, you know me, I am not a fan of SEC dictator and supreme leader Kim Jong-un, but it doesn't make sense to do, because like you gotta understand, like, I'll get into it in just a minute because I know it's just the intro part, but like, duplicating like a lot of the stuff, like you'd be duplicating, there'd be so many redundancies from one agency to the next. There absolutely would be. And then you got to kind of like think here, like whatever entity it is that's in charge of crypto, it's up to Congress to make sure that they're going in the right direction, because Congress sets the power for these federal agencies anyway. So if you already have to go to Congress for that, why do you need a new one? So look, I'm going to talk about that. And also there was this article I just found interesting that was unrelated from you today. Michael Berry of Big Short, or maybe it's pronounced Berry, isn't it? Michael Berry, it's about the same, of Big Short fame, has warning about $7 trillion worth of stocks that are exposed to crypto. So I got a couple thoughts on this. And also, they're referencing in this article a comment which he has removed from social media since then. Why do you think that might be? I got a couple ideas. But before going further, I do want to be clear. I do not have a legal or financial background of any kind. I am not offering legal or financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. And so here's a headline from Cointelegraph. Coinbase unveils its digital asset policy proposal to spark conversation around comprehensive crypto regulation. Well, I can get down on the conversation. I'm engaging in the conversation. This is me actually engaging in the conversation. On Thursday, cryptocurrency exchange platform Coinbase published its digital asset policy proposal, a document offering both a justification and conceptual framework for the comprehensive regulation of digital assets in the United States. Coinbase presented the proposal as a product of dozens of meetings with industry participants, policymakers, crypto innovators, and academics that the company's representatives had held in the last several weeks. So think about this. They met with all sorts of people from the industry, and there seemed to be some sort of consensus on a couple things. SEC bad. Okay, I can get down with that. But then part two of that is replace with new government entity. I'm just sitting there like, my gosh. And so as I was reading through this, and then I actually read through portions of the 28-page document, which I'll highlight in just a moment, it seems like, in thinking through, like, why would they think this is a better path forward than just straightening out the situation with the existing bureaucracy? And all I could fathom is that these people think that creating a new agency with different people in charge would be the path of least resistance, because if it's created, the theory is whoever is in charge of that is going to be more favorable than the SEC. The higher ups at the SEC, which, by the way, is not a certainty. That is certainly not guaranteed. How hopeful were people, including me? I mean, hope is one thing, but how hopeful were people when the new SEC chair, Gary Gensler, came in? Pretty hopeful. And now we're seeing that he's worse than that asshat Jay Clayton, the former SEC chair. And so what's to say that the new people in charge of this new bureaucracy are going to be any more reasonable? It's more like the wrong people in charge result in bad stuff happening. So maybe it's the case that they're thinking, well, we can't get rid of Gary Gensler and the people at the top, so let's just create something new. Now that creates a whole bunch of new additional expenses for the tax base, United States citizens. It grows the government ever larger. All this stuff. I'm not a fan of this stuff. There's the government is more than sufficiently large. If you can't figure out how to regulate crypto with the existing humans in place right now, you got a problem. And we do have a problem, but it doesn't mean create more government. It's like we have a government-created problem, so let's create more government to solve the government-created problem. Does this make any damn sense? I am just not down with this. Anyway, Cointelegraph continues here. The document opens by enumerating the benefits of the emerging system of digital finance for both consumers, democratization of financial markets, and regulators, more transparency and new ways to combat illegal activity. The authors further maintain that laws drafted in the 1930s are a poor foundation for regulating the internet-native asset class, and that forcing digital assets into the legal framework developed before the computer age could lead to stifling crypto innovation in the United States. And so look, to be fair, I've said stuff over the lifetime of my channel along those lines, but I've really fine-tuned my perspective on this. And it's not that you can't look upon older laws from the 30s or 40s to have some sort of reasonably functioning crypto space. You actually can. You just need to tweak things here and there. For instance, the Howey test, I'm actually currently not convinced that we should throw that out. Like, why do you need to take a complete hammer to that? We just need sufficient clarity around it. And it has to do with one of the four prongs in particular. One of the four prongs is common enterprise. That prong in particular is a huge one. If you can provide, because here's the reason. Cryptocurrencies can go from being centralized to decentralized and vice versa. If something is decentralized, then it doesn't represent a common enterprise. So if the SEC can just make clear what represents a sufficiently decentralized entity, then you're like 90% of the way there. Throw that in with the safe harbor. Yeah, bam, you pretty well fixed the problem. Why do we need a new government entity? I am not remotely sold on adding additional bureaucracy to all of this, and then you're hoping that people that come into power at this new government bureaucracy are going to do what you want them to do, and that they'll always do what you want them to do. And history says that that's a poor expectation, and you're setting yourself up for regret. And then there's more money going into this new government agency, which is never going to go away. I am not the least bit in favor of this. You do need to solve the problem here. We're on the same page there. SEC bad, got it. But damn. Anyway, and then Coinbase continues. Wait, what part is that? Right here. Yeah, here we go. A more tailored and therefore more constructive approach, according to Coinbase, should rest on four key principles: defining a separate regulatory framework for digital assets, designating a single regulator to oversee digital asset markets, protecting and empowering holders, and promoting interoperability and fair competition. And so here's the document. I just got to the part I wanted to highlight here. This thing's 28 pages. And this is the part I want to cover right here where I'm highlighting. If it'll highlight the whole... It won't. It's going to highlight the left column when I do that. Well, it doesn't matter. It's right about there. Anyway, it reads as follows. In creating a new regulatory framework for digital assets, that part I'm down with, a new regulatory framework. Framework's fine. New agency bad. In creating a new regulatory framework for digital assets, Congress should recognize in law that all digital assets, including digitally native versions of traditional financial assets, should be subject to a new regulatory regime for digital assets. No, they should not be subject to a new regulatory regime. It should be subject to the existing regulatory regime, and Congress should make them behave appropriately. Congress has the power to do this. Absolutely they do. Anyway, and then they write, this would ensure that regulation relevant to the underlying technology is consistent across all digital assets. For example, regulations governing the trading, clearing, and settlement of digital assets should apply to all digital assets, ensuring they reflect the more efficient methods of value transfer and exchange that blockchains make possible. In creating the new regulatory regime, the framework should incorporate new principles and best practices from regulations that govern traditional financial assets, where the characteristics of particular digital assets merit doing so. Man, I could not disagree more on this. It just does not make a damn bit of sense. I am fundamentally opposed to this concept here. And I'm not even convinced it's going to fix the problem, because I don't know who's going to be in charge and what their worldview is. Who says it's going to be any better than Gary Gensler? Like, these people are envisioning a world where, oh, it's for crypto. That must mean it's pro crypto. Well, you don't know that. You don't know who the hell's going to get in charge of this stuff, what the motives are. There's a lot of politicking going on behind the scenes in Washington. You don't know, but you want to make the government bigger. Hell no. You guys tell me if you agree with me or not. I'm curious. That's my take on it, though. As much as I'm not happy with what happened with the SEC and Ripple, this is not the path forward. All right, into the next piece now. Michael Burry of Big Short fame has warning about $7 trillion worth of stock that are exposed to crypto. Michael Burry, the American investor who made a fortune by predicting the crash of the U.S. housing market, has taken note of a recent report published by financial firm MSCI, which highlights the risks that cryptocurrency pose to the U.S. equities markets. MSCI has estimated that a staggering $7.1 trillion worth of stock have exposure to the fledgling industry. This includes public cryptocurrency-only companies of the likes of Coinbase, as well as firms like Tesla that are heavily invested in the new asset class. Finally, there is also a group of stocks that only have insignificant crypto exposure. Now, Burry, who has emerged as an ardent crypto skeptic earlier this year, takes issue with the fact that only 79 out of the 6,500 board members of the companies whose stocks are part of the $7 trillion figure are knowledgeable about crypto. And I'm not sure where he got that figure, but check out the actual quote. And this is what was deleted. He tweeted this yesterday and then deleted it. MSCI says there is $7.1 trillion in market cap tied to stocks of companies holding crypto. But MSCI also says only 79 people of 6,500 corporate board members have crypto expertise. This is, as they say, a feature, not a bug. And so, look, I don't know what the criteria was for determining the 79 number from MSCI. I don't know how they come up with that, but that's the number they say. And so I can imagine that this was deleted because there were crypto people not too happy, and he felt like, oh my gosh, there's an infinite number of trolls, and he must have just deleted it to end the madness. That would be my guess anyway. I don't know why else he would. But clearly crypto media picked up the story right here, not terribly surprisingly. But here's the thing. So there's the concern about crypto crashing or going down and what that would mean for the stock market. That's what he's getting at. He's talking about crypto effectively causing the stock market harm. All the evidence to this point shows that crypto is just following the stock market. And I know recently people were talking about how the stock market went down and crypto was fine. Well, look, there have been short-term instances where it's not perfectly tied, but for the bigger swings, like think back to when the pandemic hit, like March of last year. Oh yeah, stock market tanked, crypto followed immediately. And so there's not enough data to make it reasonable to believe that that's no longer the case. There's just not sufficient data for that. And so, the idea that suddenly a crypto is going to lead, I don't think that's the case. There's way more money and too much money in the stock market relative to crypto to make that the case. I just don't see that. And so he cites this big number, the 71 trillion. That makes it sound really big, and it's from this study. Fine. I think that's going to mislead people, that figure, though. Because you're basically, imagine, so there's a company, I'll just make up, there's a company with a $1 trillion market cap. There are only a handful of companies that are up there. You can think about like Apple. I don't know what, I think Apple's one of them anyway. But there are $1 trillion. So let's just say that one of the big companies has purchased crypto. But let's say they purchased $5 worth of crypto. Well, if Apple, a $1 trillion company, bought $5 worth of crypto, that number, the way that this is being measured by MSCI, gets thrown into that. So without Apple, let's say that there were $1 trillion of the $7.1 trillion figure here. Without Apple, then that would be $6.1 trillion, but they only own $5 worth of crypto in this hypothetical I cited. And so my point in highlighting this is that that's the total market cap for all of those companies that own even a small bit of crypto, and that doesn't tell you anything that's not useful information. And I just don't think that we're at a point where crypto is going to lead the world in terms of directionally where just investments are going. I don't think we're there. I don't know if we'll ever be there. I don't think we have to be there. I don't really care. It doesn't. It functionally it doesn't matter to me necessarily. But I mean, in terms of flipping this, we're certainly now here in 2021. So it's an interesting thought exercise, but I simply don't see that being the case. I think getting exposure to the crypto asset class, this is a healthy and good thing. Just because it's volatile, to me, it's just like I'm here for the volatility. If the crypto asset class weren't volatile, that would mean there's not opportunity, and I wouldn't be interested. So I think you're hearing something like this, and I don't think it's a great argument. And it's just from somebody that is anti-crypto. You know, when you're talking to no coiners, you just, you know, the arguments that you're going to get, not a lot of them, you know, a lot of them don't make sense, frankly. But anyway, I thought there were a couple interesting topics for conversation. Go ahead and carry on the conversation down below if you care to. I would love to hear what you think on all this stuff here, but you got my hot takes now. I am not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.